Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Josh from Gameosity, and today we're taking a look at, it's not really a worker placement game, it's more of a worker
efficiency?
Worker assignment game called Samara.
By Corné van Moorsel, which I'm quite sure cannot possibly be how you pronounce that name.
It's not.
But he's one of my favorite designers.
Well, let's see if this is one of his favorite games. So the goal of Samara is to be the player that scores the most points by the end of the game, and you'll do that by building buildings from this tableau. And you can see here that each of these building tiles is worth a certain number of points and certain requirements necessary for building them.
But unlike a traditional worker placement game, you don't place your workers on the buildings themselves. You only ever move your workers on this timeline. So if I wanted to, for example, build this tombstone, it would take my workers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And that would get me to this column. I would also need to have a strength of 2 workers to take something from this particular row.
Right, because every row requires a higher strength than the last. And you can see here that in some cases your workers can combine together to become higher strength, or you can simply move multiple workers to get to a row where you're trying to get something that's higher than that.
But the further you send them down the timeline, you just have to know in advance that you are not going to see those workers for a while.
Because like some other games, a player in last place on the timeline is the person who goes next. So by zipping ahead, you might get a building that you really want, but then you've left yourself open to have your other opponents jumping around in these months, getting things done.
Right. If that were my first turn, you might just get something in April and something else in March, and then you're going to go again until it finally gets to be my turn again.
Exactly. Each of the different tile types is slightly different. There's 4 in the game.
Right. The green are purely scoring. The gray have to do with tools.
The blue ones have to do with time, right?
And the red ones have to do with your workers themselves. Right. So, for example, and they're not always good things. In fact, they're frequently negative.
Some of them are actually really bad.
Right. Like this tombstone, if you build that, you will lose a guy. One of your guys will die. He digs his own grave, and he is out of time.
But he's worth 6 points. And you can always get that worker back through the magic of having women in your workforce.
That's right. One of the other things you can do with your workers, well, your female workers, is you can give them a little break. You can move them to the end of the timeline, and that will produce another worker.
Actually, the timeline's interesting. So, for example, Josh is next, and he's got a Strength 2 worker here now in March, and he moves to, let's say, December here. His Strength 2 worker could let him pick up this particular spot. It would also let him pick up this tool. Now, this building, in order to get it, it's not just enough that he's got a Strength 2 worker. He needs to have 2 red tools and a yellow one, which, if you look at my player board, sorry, this is a terrible example, if I've got all of this, I can pick this up. And I take that, and that would score me 4 points. But then, interestingly, because all this time has passed, as soon as there's no one on this board, timeline shifts up to now, and the other months will drop down to show the continuing advance of time, which means sometimes to advance all the way to the end of the board, you have to time it right so that you've actually got the time to get there before the boards shift and move. So that's Samara in a nutshell. I don't know, I really like it.
Me too.
I like a lot about it. It's a simple game, it's accessible, but there's a puzzliness to it that I really, really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. It's a good length. It's, what would I say, 30 minutes or so?
Yeah. No, there isn't a lot of room to become paralyzed because you're only really making one decision.
Right.
How far down the road do you go?
Right. And I like how thematic it is too for me, because it's primarily an abstract game, but the tiles, the buildings that you build, are really thematically grounded. So
like, yeah, if you build a weight room, and the worker who builds it gets stronger because they have, I don't know, access to the weight room that they've built.
Right. Or even, I like this hermit house. You build that, you get 5 points, but you're defining your workers now as hermits, which means that they can no longer occupy any months where there are other workers.
Right. So, like we said, the best point value tiles on the board will throw wrenches into the works and kind of complicate your gameplay. So build a hermit house at the end of the game, no problem, 5 easy points.
Right.
Build it in the beginning of the game, you've dramatically increased the challenge.
Exactly. This boat, you'll need 2 saws to build it, but you'll lose one of them over the edge.
Presumably you drop it.
Exactly.
Is it fair to call this sort of an obscure game? I mean, I haven't seen it too many other places.
I think so. These Cwali games, you don't see them around that much. I'm assuming?
Okay.
Cwali?
Sure.
Right?
I can live with that. But yeah, you don't
Corné Van Moorsel's company. I think he's the only designer at Cwali. I think he is Cwali.
And you like a lot of his stuff. I mean,
I love it. I love he did Factory Fun and Factory Funner,
which is funner.
Also very puzzly. He also did Habitats, which is his most recent game, which I really adore.
You really love Habitats.
I do love that. It's kind of a Carcassonne kind of tile placement game. He's also very well known for a game called Power Boats, which is out of print, but people who know of it really seem to like it and are hoping it comes back into print.
Well, this is the only of his games that I have in my collection, but it's one I'd been looking for a long time. It seems to have come back into print recently, so it's available, and it's a really fun game. It's simple. The mechanisms are pretty bare bones, but it's not just an abstract-y puzzle. There's a bit of theming going on in here that I really appreciate. I think this is a solid title.
It's terrific. I love it. All
right, well, thanks for watching. I'm Andrew. This is Josh from Gameosity. We'll see you next game.
Enjoy that review? Then please like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and check out our full reviews on Gameosity.com.